Have you ever found yourself lost in the middle of a conversation or YouTube video because of terms like concentric, isometric, R.P.E, or superset? Well, today my aim is to remedy that problem. The video will be divided into 3 sections: general terms, set-related terms, and acronyms. Let's get into it. General terms. Volume. Volume is the amount of work your body goes through during a week. It is often defined as the number of sets you do per muscle group per week. You can increase your workout volume by increasing the number of sets you do in a workout, the number of reps you do in a set, or the time under tension of each rep. The time under tension is just the amount of time your muscle is actively working during a repetition. So basically, it's just making each rep a little longer. Intensity. Intensity is how hard you train. The closer you get to failure, the higher the intensity of your set becomes. Intensity is important because it provides the stimulus for your muscles to grow. As you repeatedly challenge yourself during your workouts, your body will want to get stronger so that it can be better prepared for your next session. Powerlifters train with a very high intensity in order to maximize strength gains. Low intensity training is useful for those recovering from injuries or for elderly people, in order to avoid putting harmful strain on weak muscles or joints. Later in the video, we will be covering 2 acronyms that help us define the intensity of a set, so stay tuned for that. Failure. Failure is a moderately self-explanatory term, but it is important to understand because it's going to be helpful to define many of the other fitness terms that we will be going over in this video. Put simply, muscular failure is when a muscle can no longer produce enough force to complete another rep of the exercise being performed. But failure can also be separated into 2 different categories: technical failure and absolute failure. Technical failure is when you can no longer do another rep of an exercise without compromising proper form. Absolute failure is when you can't do another rep even while compromising form a bit. Progressive overload. Progressive overload is the key to making progress in any training discipline. As you get stronger, you will need to make sure you keep challenging yourself. Progressive overload essentially entails increasing the volume or the intensity of your workouts over time in order to keep making progress. For example, progressively overloading your bench press could consist of adding 5 pounds to the bar each week. You could also keep the weight the same each week and simply add a rep to every set, or even just a rep to 1 set per week. Hypertrophy and atrophy. Hypertrophy, the enlargement of an organ or tissue from the increase in size of its cells. Atrophy, of body tissue or an organ, waste away, especially as a result of the degeneration of cells. Hypertrophy and atrophy are terms used to describe the gain or loss of muscle mass. Many people train for hypertrophy, and bodybuilding is a whole training style that focuses on maximizing hypertrophy. Concentric. The concentric portion of a movement is the lifting phase. This is when your muscles are contracting in order to lift the weight or your body. It is also referred to as the positive of a rep and is normally the hardest portion of an exercise. Examples would be pushing a bar away from your chest on bench press, pulling yourself towards the bar during pull-ups, and pushing away from the ground on a squat. Eccentric. The eccentric phase of an exercise is the opposite of the concentric phase. The eccentric, also called the negative, is the lowering portion of an exercise. Your body is also around 130% stronger in the eccentric compared to the concentric portion of a movement. You can make use of this fact as a progression for bodyweight exercises by doing eccentrics of an exercise that you can't fully do yet. Slowly lowering yourself over the span of a few seconds for each rep helps you build specific strength by using the same body position of the actual exercise. Statics and isometrics. Statics and/or isometrics are exercises that work muscles without causing them to lengthen or shorten. In other words, exercises that require you to stay still. Statics include exercises like the plank, as well as more advanced calisthenics moves like the planche or front lever. You can also perform isometric holds of what would normally be a dynamic exercise, or even include them as what's called a pause, during an exercise. Pause reps are very helpful to build strength in a weak portion of an exercise. Compound exercises. Compound exercises use and work multiple muscle groups at a time. They provide a great bang for your buck and should, in most cases, be the main focus of your workout. Compound movements are best at the start of your workout when you are fresh and have plenty of energy to spend. Examples include staples like the bench press, squat, pull-ups, push-ups, lunges, and more. Isolation. Isolation exercises target a specific muscle without having much effect on other muscles in your body. Just as you would isolate variables in mathematical equations to define them, you can also isolate the muscles in your body to do the same. Isolation exercises are great for the end of a workout after your compound movements to get in some extra volume and or target weak or lagging areas. Progression. Exercise progressions are simply harder versions of an exercise. They often bridge the strength gap between one exercise and another. For example, if you can currently do a regular push-up, but they are getting a little too easy, and you want more of a challenge, then you can learn exercise progressions, like decline push-ups, diamond push-ups, and archer push-ups. Regression. Exercise regressions are similar to progressions, but instead of being harder than the initial exercise regressions are easier. To stick with the push-up example, if you can't do push-ups, then you can try regressions like incline or knee push-ups. Set-related terms. This next set of definitions is going to be filled with different types of sets and terms relating to workout structure. Burnout. A burnout is a hard set you would normally do at the end of your workout. The goal of a burnout is to squeeze all of the potential gains out of your muscles, or in other words, fatigue them to the point of total exhaustion. During a burnout, training to failure helps fully fatigue the muscle. There are also several special types of sets that make for a great burnout that we'll be going over later in the video. Superset. A superset is a tool you can use during your workout to pair exercises together. During a superset, you perform one set of an exercise and then jump straight into a different exercise once you are finished with the first. These two exercises should work different muscle groups. Pairing exercises like this increases the efficiency of your workout, and it's a great tool for someone in a rush. Compound set. A compound set is like a superset, except during a compound set, you don't switch between two different muscle groups. The first and the second exercise in the compound set should work the same muscle group. This racks up a lot of fatigue for the muscles in a short amount of time. There is, however, debate as to whether compound sets really offer any more muscle building benefits than separating the two exercises, but I won't delve into that topic in this video. However, I will say that compound sets can be a great burnout. Drop set. Using a drop set in a workout lets you train past muscular failure. It goes like this. During a drop set, after you can no longer do any reps with your starting weight or resistance, you drop the weight and keep doing reps. This is super effective at fatiguing the target muscles and is a great set to do for a burnout. Although it should be noted that doing lots of drop sets can extend your recovery time by quite a bit because of how good they are at exhausting the muscle. So use them sparingly. Cluster set. Cluster sets involve incorporating multiple mini sets into a single set with a short rest in between. For example, a cluster set of 6 reps might be made up of 3 2-rep mini sets with a 15-second rest in between each. Cluster sets let you train a certain amount of reps with a heavier weight than you would be able to handle in a normal set. Generally, during a cluster set, fatigue is avoided, resulting in a higher, more efficient rep speed throughout the set. A rest-pause set is very similar to a cluster set. However, during a rest-pause set, fatigue is the focus. Take an exercise to failure, have a very short rest, and then do that again, and you have yourself a rest-pause set. This is another type of set that makes a great burnout for the end of your workout. Circuit training. Circuit training is a common way to structure workouts. It is very beginner friendly because it is both easily understood and time efficient. The majority of follow along workouts that you might see on YouTube are types of circuits. Let's go over an example of circuit training. First, we have a list of exercises that we want to do in our workout. This will be the basic format. Now, instead of assigning each exercise a specific amount of reps and sets, we will instead either assign them all a similar amount of time that we want to finish them in, or a similar amount of reps. Normally, this will be the same or very similar for each exercise. Generally, each exercise is only done once before moving on. And after completing an exercise, you either move right into the next one or take a short break. In circuits, normally this is less than 1 minute. You can then even perform the circuit multiple times for an extra challenge. Acronyms. Next up in our definitions, we're going to be going over terms that are acronyms. R.I.R. R.I.R. is one of the terms that can be used to define the intensity of a set, like we mentioned earlier. R.I.R. stands for reps in reserve. In the context of a workout set, this is simply the number of reps you still had in the tank when you finished your set. Another way to think about it is the R.I.R. of a set is the amount of additional reps you would have needed to do to reach failure. R.P.E. R.P.E. is also used to define the intensity of a set, and it stands for rate of perceived exertion. The rate of perceived exertion of a set is scored on a 1 through 10 scale. The rate of perceived exertion is inversely related to the R.I.R. or reps in reserve of a set, which means that rate of perceived exertion increases as the number of reps in reserve decreases. For example, an R.P.E. 9 means you had 1 rep in reserve, and an R.P.E. 6 means you had 4 reps in reserve. HIIT, or H.I.I.T. HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. When you think of going to the gym, this is most likely the type of workout that you're picturing. It is a pretty self-explanatory term. You break your workout into intervals, more commonly called sets, and perform an exercise with a relatively high intensity. It's most common for this to be resistance training in the form of weights or bodyweight exercises. But you can also have HIIT running, biking, or swimming workouts. HIIT in the form of running, for example, could consist of sprint repeats around a track, with breaks in between each sprint. Each sprint you do is a high-intensity interval, which makes it a HIIT workout. High-intensity interval training is the best way to build muscle, but it also has a myriad of other benefits. L.I.S.S, or L.I.S.S. L.I.S.S stands for Low Intensity Steady State. L.I.S.S is the yin to HIIT's yang. Low intensity steady state can also be simply described as cardio. An easy run or bike ride would be the staple example for L.I.S.S training. L.I.S.S is generally good for burning calories and increasing cardiovascular health. E.M.O.M. E.M.O.M stands for every minute on the minute, which is a type of timed workout. Say my E.M.O.M workout consists of the following exercises: 15 burpees, 25 jumping squats, 20 sit-ups, and 10 pull-ups. For this workout, every exercise will be timed. You have 60 seconds to complete each exercise, and once you complete the designated amount of reps, you rest for the remainder of the minute. So the faster you complete the exercise, the more time you will get to rest. For example, if I can finish 15 burpees in 35 seconds, then I have 25 more seconds to rest before I start my jumping squats. A.M.R.A.P. A.M.R.A.P stands for as many reps as possible. As many reps as possible is exactly what it sounds like. Simply pick an exercise and a time frame. Then do as many reps as you can of that exercise in the allotted time. This acronym can also stand for as many rounds as possible, which is a way to structure a workout. These workouts could be as short as 5 minutes or even as long as an hour. During an A.M.R.A.P workout, you pick a time frame and a list of exercises with an amount of reps for each. You then start the clock and complete your list as quickly as possible. Once you're done, keep repeating the list of exercises for as many rounds as possible. Here's an example of an A.M.R.A.P workout. Time frame, 20 minutes. Exercises, 20 walking lunges, 15 hanging knee raises, 10 push-ups, and 5 pull-ups. Say I can do this circuit in about 2 minutes. My goal would be to keep repeating this as quickly as possible until I get to 20 minutes. If I can keep that pace, I should be able to do about 10 rounds of this workout. D.O.M.S. Have you ever gotten done with your workout and thought, man, I feel great, only to be greeted by crippling soreness the following day? You're most likely experiencing D.O.M.S, delayed onset muscle soreness. It is very common and not something to be worried about. It's usually the worst when your body is reacting to something that it's not used to. So if you start working out for the first time or change up your current routine, then you will probably be very sore after the first few sessions until your body starts to adapt. C.N.S. C.N.S stands for your central nervous system. The central nervous system actually plays a vital role in your workouts. It controls your movement and affects your strength output. Someone with a trained central nervous system is able to use their muscles more efficiently than a beginner whose central nervous system is less adapted to resistance training. Your central nervous system can also become fatigued from training, which will affect your performance, which is why it's important to take time to rest and recover. Your central nervous system is also heavily affected when you're doing high intensity or strength-related exercises, which is why oftentimes powerlifters need a lot of time to rest because they need their central nervous system to recover in between each set and each workout. 1RM. 1RM stands for 1 rep max. In weightlifting, a 1 rep max is the greatest amount of weight you can lift for a single repetition. So if somebody asks you, how much do you bench, bro? Then they are talking about your 1 rep max. You can replace the 1 in this term for any number, which will change the meaning, like your 3 rep max or your 5 rep max, and so on. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. This one was definitely more information heavy. I hope you guys learned something. As always, let me know if you have any suggestions in the comments, and feel free to give this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more content to be coming soon. Thanks again for watching.